Thank you all, and thank you for showing up today and braving New South Wales, and those of you that are tuning in online now and in the future, thank you for having a listen. Hopefully Marky Mark lets us back into WA after today, but we'll see how we go. So we are Dreadnought Resources. Like I said, we're very highly active. Make sure the thingamajigger here works. We're a junior company, so we have a very, very long disclaimer. You can study that on the ASX if you would like. But more to the point, Dreadnought as a company, in our latest iteration, we've been around for about 2 years. Dreadnought was previously Taikian Resources and ERO Uranium Explorer before that, so the entity has been around for a while. But enough about that. Who we are, we have 3 main projects all in Western Australia. We have a project up in the Kimberley, about 2,500, 3,000 square kilometers up there. We have the Alara gold project, which we picked up off Newmont shortly after coming online in 2019, 800 square kilometers there, and recently picked up the Mangaroon project in the Gascoyne province, about 4,500 square kilometers there. Very large projects, large land holdings, early stage exploration. Each of these projects on their own could be a company maker with the potential that they have. We have the 3, and we are very actively working our way through them to do the work as quickly as possible. One of the main things I want to talk about, though, is Dreadnought as we get into this presentation. Really, as we said before, I have an exceptional board. I love them. I think they're the best. I also have one of the best exploration teams anyone could ask for. But more to the point, to date, board and management has put in $1.3 million of their own cold hard cash into the company. We control about 20%. You know, what you don't see up there as well is even our senior geologists. They just put in quite a bit of money into the last capital raise as well. The entire company, the entire team, well, all 4 of us plus the board, is very, very strongly aligned with the shareholders. And we know, and we are very much here to ensure that we create value for shareholders as an exploration company. So what does that mean? We are an explorer. We are not a crack of underground miners looking to refresh old mines. We are not here with a new proprietary metallurgical technique. We are not here developing a mine. We are junior explorers. We live at the front end of the Lassonde curve, and we create value by advancing exploration targets, making a discovery, and delivering that resource. Some of the more successful companies over the last 10, 20 years, and some household names up there, have done that extremely well. Sorry about that. Moving into exploration, a lot of people think that the best place to explore is in the shadow of the headframe. If you look at these companies and dig back into their past, they did not explore in the shadow of the headframe. They were actually exploring in unloved new districts that had little to no exploration or discoveries or mineral deposits within them. These are looking at the Chalices just outside of Perth, De Grey in the unloved Pilbara, Sirius down in the Albany Fraser, and of course Gold Road out in the Yarmana Belt and the rest. These were very far-flung places, far-flung projects, but they made discoveries, they had success, and they have created an extreme amount of value, not only for their shareholders, but for the state and the people in the places where they made their discoveries. These companies, not that long ago, had projects just like ours, targets just like ours, and market caps just like ours. We are an exploration company. This is our definition of success. This is our benchmark, and this is what we are here to achieve. Recently, we have just started working at our Alara project to kick off the year. We have tested about 14 project targets down at the Lawrence's Trends and another 6 targets up at Metzke's. These assays are pending. We're looking to advance all these projects forward along the path through target definition, target testing, and of course, the delivering a resource. Coming up, what the company was really founded on in the early days is the Kimberley. We have a lot of targets defined here. People keep talking about copper, and nickel. Well, for the next 6 to 9 months, the only thing you're going to be seeing Dreadnought drilling are copper and nickel targets. We have a pipeline of these targets that were ready to drill last year. We'll be going through those in a bit more detail, but COVID restrained us from the Kimberley. The roads are drying up, and as soon as those roads open up here in June, we'll be up there drilling these targets. In the background, Mangaroon, which we recently pegged last year, just within a few months after pegging that ground and consolidating our land position, First Quantum Minerals, a major international base metal mining company, knocked on our door and asked a joint venture to take an option out on that project. That's a huge technical tick, and it also means that we are free carry to development on that should we discover anything on the Mangaroon project, and we also get to maintain all the gold rights, which was the other reason why we picked up that ground. So in the background, as we mobilize up to the Kimberley next week, our guys are actually heading up to the Mangaroon to do some more target generation work, target definition work. We'll have targets ready to drill there come August, September this year. So we got the Kimberley drilling next, assay results from the Alara coming through, Mangaroon after that, and we'll finish off the year back at Alara. It's too hot and too wet to work anywhere else in the state. So I'll start off with Taraji. This is Taraji Yampi up in the Kimberley. This is where we're going next. This has been a pipe dream of us for quite some time, and especially our board and founders of Dreadnought. Since 1978, the Yampi Sound Defense Training Area has been off limits to exploration. The last people to be boots on ground up here was Roy Woodall himself in 1958 and ACN in 1972. In that time period, 50% of all the discoveries have been made in Australia. This ground has been off limits to exploration. In 2019, after negotiating all of the access permits and agreements, we were one of the first companies to get boots on ground. We have all approvals and access in place. We have all funding in place. We have about 12 to 14 targets that we will be drilling commencing in June. The first people up here in a very long time. A long strike from us chasing similar targets is IGO and Chalice, but within the Defense Reserve, we have the majority of the land. As I go around, I'll start off talking about Texas and Orion. These are magmatic nickel copper PGE targets. This is what IGO is chasing along strike on the old Buxton ground, about 40 Ks, and Chalice with their Hawkesbury project, Hawkstone project a bit further down than that. I'll then talk about Paul's find in Fuso. This is what fills my mind with dreams at night. And then we also have Chianti Rufina, which is our growing VMS camp. So Texas and Orion, this is what IGO, Chalice are chasing, as I've said. Outcropping ruins, we have magnetic anomalies, and we have EM anomalies sitting within the ruins. It's pretty textbook. We drill these, it's a yes or no, and these are just been approved for everything, and looking forward to starting our drilling at Texas, and then moving over to Orion as we move up there in June. Once we finish that, we'll start drilling at Fuso and Paul's Find. One of the things that's quite exciting about the Kimberley is you have these walls of copper and gold mineralization sticking out of the ground above the Black Plains soils. Take these rocks to some people who are quite familiar with some of these terrains, and they look at them and hold them and go, it looks like Mount Isa, this looks like Tennant Creek. So when you look at these systems, you have these veins, you have a lot of targets, but where's the main prize? Where's the breccia pipe? Where's the intrusion? Where's the next Ernest Henry? So we flew the area with MAG in 2019. We followed up those magnetic anomalies with gravity, and the biggest thing to fall out of that is Fuso. 1.5 kilometer long magnetic anomaly with a very dense gravity anomaly right in the middle of that thing, about 30 meters below the surface under a bit of cover. It's what keeps me up at night. I cannot wait to drill that. We will be drilling this thing in June. Next door to it, Paul's Find. Nice remnant magnetic low with a dense body, dense gravity anomaly associated with it. This is identical to like a Brumby type target. We have holes going into that as well. Once we finish testing those, if that's not enough, we have Chianti Rufina. We have a little bit more. 1972, outcropping Gaussian was drilled by ACN, hit massive sulfide with nice numbers. We drilled that again in 2019, confirmed the VMS system, did a bit of work on that. And while we were there, we explored the rest of that target horizon and identified 6 more EM plates, some with outcropping Gaussians and copper and soil anomalism. So we have 7 EM plates to test here on the back of testing Fuso and Paul's Find and the nickel copper targets. All this will be drilled in June, July. We'll have visuals, we'll have assays very quickly after that. So there'll be a lot of news flow coming from the Kimberley, long awaited. Some people have been waiting. It's almost 6 years for this to come true. After that, we'll be positioning to have Mangaroon ready to operate. The Gascoyne province, the Kimberley has been off limits because of defense. The Gascoyne has been unloved for a tragic series of consequences. Go back to the 1890s and the original gold rushes in WA, and the state in 1896, 1898 decided to encourage prospecting by sending out batteries in the remote areas of WA. The Bangamal field near Cobra was slotted as getting one of these batteries. The guys out there were producing multiple ounce gold, dolling it up on the frontier of that little agricultural region at the time. and didn't have anywhere nearby to take it to. They either had to go to Meekatharra or down to Northampton, both of which were over 200 kilometers away. However, when the battery showed up, no one was there to receive it. Probably one of the worst hangover stories probably on the planet. But 1910, continued to work and struggle, high-grade gold, sitting up there, asked the state again for a battery. Battery was not received. 1930 again, asked for a battery, WA second gold rush, battery was not received. Come forward to now, some people think the Gascoigne's unmineralized, it doesn't have much potential. Or is that just because it's been denied the ability to explore and the encouragement that's needed to actually make these discoveries that the rest of the parts of the states have had with their infrastructure and their batteries? To that point, we went out there pegging this ground. So one of the guys that works with us, Drew Money, he grew up on Linden Station, his family owns it, and all the exploration work up here, including the original work done at Cobra and Bangamal and at the Star of Mangaroon, was actually found and discovered by the pastoralists, which means a lot of the work didn't actually go through the mines department, including in 1960 when Alan MacDonald, the owner of Mangaroon Station, who discovered Star of Mangaroon as well, saw that nickel was becoming a thing. Sounds a bit familiar. We are a cyclical industry. And he went out to this intrusion that's sitting out there and said, I know where some nickel is. And he drilled it, and he hit nickel sulfide. But it was in his memoirs. His wife wrote it only a few years ago and published. We found that. We know the history with Drew. We went out there, a whole series of dikes. The GSWA actually spent multiple years trying to find this particular location, and they didn't. So it's only been in the memoirs of the pastoralists. We spent 2-3 days with the local pastoralists, and we found it. Outcropping, high tenor sulfides, chalcopyrite, pentlandite, and on seeing this, that rock chip right there alone, some people have seen it a lot, they get tired of looking at it, but that rock chip alone, single-handedly, we got First Quantum on board. In these systems, the disseminated sulfides are a reflection of the massive sulfide if the massive sulfides are there. If that is the case, the tenor of these sulfides is on the tenor of Eagle in the United States. That's a 5 to 6% copper, 5 to 6% nickel deposit. If there is massive sulfide here, it will be worth a lot of money. We've had this dated with First Quantum. It's about 800 million years old. It's an early pulse of that large igneous province, similar in age and size to Jinshuan in China, which is one of the largest nickel deposits in the world. It's sticking out of the ground, fresh sulfide at surface. We've only walked over about 5 strike kilometers of this thing, and the guys are heading up next week to cover off the rest of it. This is going to be a very, very exciting couple months as we define targets ready for drilling later this year. In addition to that, there's still the high-grade gold. Peter Cullens, which was actually drilled by Drew's uncle, known to be able to find his old drilling in his hand-drawn maps. Drew took us straight there. There's drill intercepts there over 20 grams per ton. We're doing the target generation work over that now. The soils have just been received and dropped off to the lab, hopefully today. And we'll have drill-ready targets on that gold, which we own 100% rights on, as well when we drill the nickel. Heading down to Alara, it's a project we picked up off of Newmont in 2019. Newmont pegged this in 2016. It occurs what I like to call the Bermuda Triangle of the Yilgarn. It's an area that was very far from all the existing infrastructure, the agriculture. You look at, why did the gold go from Southern Cross to Coolgardie to Kalgoorlie? You have this vision that prospectors sort of fan out and find the best things. Well, actually, they're following the pastoralists. And the original explorers and Hunt's track are the reasons why they went from there to there to there. And then the pastoral tracks and the infrastructure is what leads pastoralists along lines, which then follow with roads, which then follow with infrastructure. Well, that Bermuda Triangle in there, it has no water, it has no infrastructure, and it didn't for the longest time. So that's why it's very unloved, and since 2000, it's been held by iron ore companies, exploring for them. So it's been unexplored for gold since DRE.ASX. Newmont picked it up in 2016 for these reasons. They did the first pass work, identified some really nice camp scale targets, and then got distracted elsewhere. Knew the guys at Newmont, we did a nice deal, picked up the entire 75 strike kilometers of that greenstone belt, and I've been busy working on that the last 2 years. We have a number of gold targets. Last time we talked, we had only covered about 25% of the greenstone belt in first pass target generation. We have now completed the regional target gen. We've confirmed high-grade gold at Metzke's Find, pre-resource on that, some really nice high-grade gold. And as we continue to advance our knowledge, we're starting to move over into the central and the eastern sides of that greenstone belt, where we see some deeper weathering, some larger alteration systems, and we'll see how the gold targets get defined out there. In addition, our last drill program, greenstone belts, they are the gifts that keep on giving. We do have some iron ore out there. We also hit some nice pegmatites. some lithium-bearing minerals in there. We'll see how that unfolds. Called it Peggy Sue, a tribute to listening to my mom's oldies radio station growing up. And we also have some VMS deposits out here. There's also a bunch of iron ore, as we talked about before. MinRes is building a haul road up along the side of Alara to go mine Mount Richardson. It's high-grade iron, low phos, exactly what MinRes and the industry and the companies want. We'll find a way to commercialize this. So takeaway messages, we're a very active explorer. We have a long list of very attractive copper, nickel, gold targets coming up over the next 6 to 9 months. 2021 is slotted to be our year. And I hope to have the existing shareholders rewarded and new shareholders on board. It's going to be a very fun ride for us, hopefully more up than anything else. And thank you for having a listen.